Now let me level with you for a second. I've been watching Adventure Time since 2010, back when the logo used to look like this. And, for a while I had stopped watching it after season 4 because they weren't airing it that much on Cartoon Network. And when they were airing it, I wasn't able to catch it on time because I had a lot of studying to do, I had a lot of work to do, and I couldn't necessarily watch television that much. So it was sort of hard for me to catch episodes when they aired. So earlier this year, I had went back and watched through all the seasons to sort of catch up because I heard a Distant Land series that was coming out on HBO Max. So I had went back and rewatched episodes past season 4. I didn't go back and watch seasons 1 through 4 because I already knew what happened in those seasons. So I just went back and watched the episodes that I missed over the years. Now I did watch BMO, the BMO special, but I'm not really here to talk about that one. That one was okay. I've been meaning to watch Obsidian as well, but I haven't really had the time to due to work and school, so I will be watching that eventually. But the video for today is just about Together Again. And at the beginning of the video, I did put up a spoiler warning. This is your final chance. If you have not watched Together Again, I highly suggest you go watch it, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you've already seen it, be my guest, you can stay. Alright. So the episode starts off similar to how episodes would normally start off in season 1 and 2. Finn and Jake are going on a random adventure and have to stop the Ice King from stealing princesses. As you can tell by the description that I just gave you, something is a little bit off. At this point, Ice King has stopped stealing princesses and became Finn and Jake's friend at this point. And also, Ice King is no longer Ice King, he's Simon now. So clearly something isn't right. Either this is a flashback or this is a dream sequence. After the fight with the Ice King, we are then greeted to another problem. Some worms are attacking a nearby village/library, and our heroes have to deal with it. When I first watched this, I thought that the worms may be the ones causing the dream sequence/flashback sequence, but turns out that's not the case, because then once the fight with the worms are over, we are then greeted to some more confusion. As a grave appears in front of Finn and Jake and it says RIP, and Jake tells Finn that it's time for him to go. Finn, confused as to what's going on, sort of freaks out, and then he looks back up at the grave again and sees that it says RIP Jake. I'm pretty sure this scene freaked out everybody because again we thought it was just another Croak dream, and because in previous seasons Finn has had dreams about Jake dying multiple times. So this is not the first time this sort of thing has happened, but this time it's more than just a dream, as we soon find out as soon as Finn takes this sort of spider-looking thing off his back. We are greeted to a much older Finn, and he soon finds out that he's in the underworld and he's dead. And just to let you know, I don't think anybody was expecting this at all, because the advertisement that came with the special just said, "This is Finn and Jake's last adventure." I mean, everybody assumed that Jake was more than likely probably going to die by the end of this, but nobody expected the fact that Finn and Jake were already dead at the start of the special. So that was sort of a nice twist. They didn't really spoil it in the promo, so that's good. Now, Finn's first reaction to him being dead is sort of kind of expected, but kind of unexpected. He pretty much just exclaims that he gets to see Jake again. He's not really bummed out about being dead. He's just like, oh goody, I get to see Jake again. Which, I'll be honest with you, was kind of out of nowhere, but at the same time, it was really touching and sweet to sort of see that he's not really bothered by it. It seems like Jake has been dead for a while and he's been waiting to see him. So with that being the case, I mean, it was kind of touching. The first person that Finn meets when he makes it to the underworld is Mr. Fox, a character that we've seen before in the past. For those of you who don't remember, Mr. Fox is a character that was introduced in one episode where Finn was wandering around in the forest. He was messing around with all the animals and stuff like that. And pretty much Mr. Fox was the guy that was in love with the goose, Bubafina. Which, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of cracking up at the fact that this man stayed lonely for the entirety of the series. Finn tells Mr. Fox that the reason why he's looking for Jake is because Finn had made a promise to Jake that before they died, that they would signal each other in the land of the dead so that when they find each other, they can reincarnate with each other. Mr. Fox soon tells Finn that Jake isn't there. He's wherever he is, he's no longer in that particular spot in the underworld. He's in one of the dead worlds. And this is the part of the special where you get somewhat of like a weird cut. Now, this is something that I noticed like 3 times in the special, and especially the BMO special. It seems like that these were originally ordered to be on Cartoon Network. That's probably why they have those weird cuts. You know, where something suspenseful happens and it cuts to black and then you get commercials after that? Yeah, it happens a couple of times in the special, and it's kind of jarring, but at the same time, you have to think maybe these were originally meant for TV, but they moved it to HBO Max. So that's probably why it's cut the way it's cut. After this, Finn is told that the old Death is no longer around and that this new guy, New Death, is pretty much taking over the underworld. And we soon find out that this is the old Death's son. We don't get a specific name for this character other than the fact that all the other characters call him New Death. So that's pretty much what I'm going to call him for the remainder of this video, New Death. So New Death is pretty much taking over the underworld. Finn goes to go see New Death and then gets kicked out of the castle. He meets up with another familiar face named Tiffany, and Tiffany tells Finn that Jake is in the 50th dead world, which is the highest plane of existence after death. After conversating with Tiffany for a while, he soon notices that he has some sort of dead world traveling device, and he pretty much finesses it out of his hands. And he goes on this little spree across the different dead worlds trying to look for Jake. And we run into more familiar faces, Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig. We run into Finn's adopted parents, and he finds out that, yeah, it's going to be pretty much hard to get to the 50th dead world. You pretty much have to not want to go there, is what Finn is told by his adopted parents, that you have to not want to go there in order to get to the 50th dead world. And while he's processing this information, the dead angels, of course, blow up the dead world that his adopted parents reside in, and Finn pretty much breaks down in tears. Finn is now crying. He's upset. He's realized that, it's going to be definitely really, really difficult at this point to find Jake. And at the same time, he has the threat of New Death on his tail. I think, in my opinion, this is one of the most tear-jerking moments in the special, because you can just hear the frustration in his voice. The voice acting is pretty good in the special. Very, very top-notch. The sound design is very good. The voice acting is on point with this episode. And you can really feel the pain in Finn's voice as he's upset, he's crying. He really wants to see Jake again. And this scene pretty much gave me the feels as well, because we've watched these characters for a very, very long time. Adventure Time came out in like 2010. So I've been a part of this show. I've been watching the show for almost a decade and a half now. So again, this is like a really heartbreaking scene, but at the same time, Jake is going to come back. So Jake pretty much descends out of this hole in the sky, and he says that, hey, I sensed you from the 50th dead world. I heard your plea and I'm checking on you, and I see that everything's just fine with you. And the reason why Jake is acting the way he's acting is because once you reach the 50th, you really don't have any more desires anymore. You're just calm. You're happy with your afterlife. You're happy. You don't want anything else. Therefore, Jake really didn't, seem to care much about staying with Finn or reincarnating with Finn. He just wanted to live a peaceful afterlife. Finn pretty much still trying to convince Jake to sort of stay with him. He tries to give him, a reason to stay with him. Like, he gives him a piece of gum and, he says, this was my jam. Finn said, I made sure to stay buried with it in case I ran into you again. And, he chews it, he was like, man, I used to love this, but really, I have to go. I'm above all this. So he starts to ascend back up into the hole, right? And shortly after that, Death's angels come in and, sort of restrain Finn and sort of try and get into the 50th. And they sort of jam Jake up into the hole to the 50th. That way, they can sort of get in once they take Jake out of the hole. So now Jake is sitting there watching his friend get beat up. He's slowly cracking his fist. As he's watching his friend get beat up, he's sort of remembering what it feels like to sort of beat up bad guys. He's pretty much closing his fist, getting ready to jump down there. It's like, step off my bro. And this is the moment we were waiting for right here. Finn and Jake finally fighting together again. And as I said before, beautiful moment. I love this scene. It's beautiful. It brings tears to my eyes. After the fight, Death comes out of nowhere and says, thank you for holding the 50th open for me. I've been trying to get there for weeks. And they sort of follow him through there, and he's like, man, what a dump, man. This is boring. And we see two more characters that we haven't seen in a long time, which is Ghost Princess. I think that was her name. Yes, Ghost Princess. And the guy that had killed her but fell in love in Death. So we see those two characters. I'm pretty sure there were some other characters that we've seen in the past that were in that one scene too. Again, nice little throwbacks like that make this the definitive ending to the show. Like I said, I might not watch the 4th special. I might and I might not. Depends. So New Death says that, man, this is a dump. I'm gonna send y'all all to the first dead world, and pretty much he spins his scythe around to the ground. Everybody goes falling down to the first, and they have to pretty much save everyone. And they don't really know how to stop New Death, so they go and contact somebody in the land of the living. And Finn or Jake, I can't remember which one suggested it, but they said, let's call up P-Bubs, let's call up Princess Bubblegum. It was like, oh yeah, why did I think of that? And we sort of find out that Princess Bubblegum is no longer in charge. At least that's what the scene implies. It's Peppermint Butler, which I think we'll get an answer to that in the 4th special, but I'm not sure if I really want to watch it. But we get sort of this exchange between them and Peppermint Butler that, hey, okay, I'll help you, but you need to give me your bones. And in a funny exchange, Finn and Jake are like, yeah, you can use the bones. It's like, oh, Peppermint Butler was like, oh yeah, I already had them. I was just trying to make sure I can use them. Peppermint Butler then tells Finn and Jake that, okay, you need to go see Life, the goddess of life-giving and reincarnation. That way you will be able to defeat the New Death. And they go to her plane of existence, and they find out that the goddess Life is the mother of the New Death. And at first she's like, nah, let my son do what he's doing. He's in charge of that now. But then when her reincarnation machine thing is affected by what her son is doing, she's then like, okay, never mind, I'll give you the stick. And remember that da-da-da-da-da-da. But before she's able to say anything important, Finn and Jake leave, as they were given a time limit for how long they can be in Life's realm. Jake make it back to the first dead world, where they meet up with Tiffany. Tiffany gets them out of the first dead world so they can raid New Death's castle. They do this by disguising themselves as their previous incarnations. They ruin the plan. Death's angels chase them around for a little bit. Tiffany distracts them, and Finn and Jake meet up with New Death. Long story short, it's revealed that New Death turns out to be the Lich, and he's been there for a long time, manipulating and pulling the strings of New Death, and pretty much is what caused New Death to kill his father. Also revealed to Finn and Jake that the only way they're necessarily going to get rid of New Death is if one of them kills them with the stick of life, and if one of them does kill him with the stick of life, then the person that kills Death pretty much becomes Death and rules over the underworld, and is pretty much in charge of whoever goes where and things of that nature. We get a gut-wrenching fight between the two brothers as they try and fight over who gets to kill Death and pretty much take responsibility, as Finn wants to do it that way. Jake doesn't have to, so Jake can pretty much live his best life back on Earth. Same thing goes with Jake. Jake doesn't want Finn to do it and will rather take responsibility as killing things and taking their lives. He feels like Finn doesn't necessarily have the stomach for it. So they fight over the stick to see who gets to put Death in the ground, and Mr. Fox comes in and saves the day and pretty much does the job for them. Mr. Fox becomes the new Death, and Finn and Jake are left wondering what to do now. Jake at first says he's going back to the 50th, and Finn is like, okay, that's good, that's okay. I want you to live your best afterlife. I'm finna go ahead and reincarnate back on Earth. I want to go back and sort of see what life has in store for me next. And as Finn walks through the portal, we get the final scene of Jake finally deciding to go back to Earth with Finn. And this was one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire series. I love this show. I really, really do hold this show in my heart as much as I do Ben 10 and the thousands of other shows I've grown up with. This scene was heart-pounding. It just sort of it got a couple of tears out of me, let's just say that. And it ends with the famous fist pump that they often give each other, and all I can say is this is the definitive ending of the show. As I said before, this special had good sound design, good action, good voice acting. The voice acting was top notch. It actually sounded like they tried for this one, and there was genuine emotion behind the microphone. And along with the sound design sounded cinematic. It was good. Detailing and the shading of the backgrounds were put a lot of effort was put into that. And overall, it was a good special. I honestly am I'm not sure if I should watch the fourth one or I should just stop watching here and then just be like, okay, Adventure Time is over. It's done with. It's capped off. But if you want to watch the fourth Distant Land special, that's fine. That's up to you. I don't really care. But yeah, it's a good send-off. I loved it. Let me know in the comments below whether or not you like Distant Lands. How long have you been an Adventure Time fan? Have you been there since the beginning? Have you watched the show all the way through? Did you sort of stop where I stopped at like season 3 or something like that? This will go down in history as one of the best Adventure Time specials ever. Adventure Time was just one of those shows where you could watch, escape, and sort of just get into this world of fantasy and mysticism and just all around goofiness. I love the show to death, and hopefully the show doesn't necessarily get replaced with something else, but sort of continues on through another sort of continuation following Finn's and Jake's reincarnations or something like that. But yeah, I love this special overall. I hope y'all have a good day, and peace.